Welcome back to ScareNetwork's Jump Scare podcast. I'm your host, Billy Lewis. I have with me David Weatherly again, who's been a guest on the show before. Thanks for coming on, David.
Hey, always a pleasure, man. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Today we are going to talk about all things UFO. There's been a lot of rumblings over the last 2 to 3 weeks with the United States government releasing some reports on UFOs, and I think, I'm not well versed, but I think acknowledging that there is something else out there, but still, from what I've learned and read, still being a little bit secretive about it. Let's just jump into it, David. What have you heard recently about those reports? And I know a lot of, I think Air Force capturing stuff on their cameras. Talk about what you've learned and what roughly what the reports have said.
It's the government, so not much. Sadly, I mean, here's the thing. This caught a lot of people's attention quite some time ago because Senator Rubio out of Florida really pushed the envelope a bit and pretty much insisted on this report being published and the government acknowledging exactly what's going on. So a lot of people, I think, had high expectations about it. Having delved into the UFO topic for so many years, I was hopeful, but at the same time, I thought, we've kind of been down this road before in a sense. So I didn't have high hopes for it, unfortunately. And as we've seen, we get a report that really doesn't say much of anything. It's sort of in a, kind of in a backhanded way says we acknowledge there's something, unidentified. And really, when it comes down to it, I kind of put less credence on that in a sense because I'm personally convinced that the government does know there's much more going on, and they're just not going to publicly acknowledge it yet in a really dramatic way, which is what a lot of people were waiting for, right? There's a whole movement within the UFO field that's dedicated to disclosure, and every time a new president is elected, this idea comes about that, this is the disclosure president. Obama's going to be the disclosure president. Trump's going to be the disclosure president. Biden's going to be the disclosure president. And it doesn't really turn out that way. And I think that rather than focus on that, my belief is that we're actually living through a period of disclosure. And it's going to come in stages. And that disclosure, I think, is people realizing in different stages that we're not alone, that there's something that's been visiting us for a very long time, and that there's something unexplained in the skies. I think that if you look at, even the past 20 or 30 years or so, you can see sort of these levels of disclosure in the consciousness that have been happening. And I believe maybe it's even conscious on someone's part that they're slowly putting this idea out that, there's other life forms, there's the potential for conflict, there's the potential for this or that. So, I think that even now in modern times, there seem to be many more people who are convinced, there are things we can't explain. There are more and more military personnel who are coming forward and saying there's something that we can't explain. I'm sure a lot of viewers have seen by now the Tic Tac video, that was captured by military pilots. And this is an object that does not perform or behave like anything we know of on this earth. So we're getting these levels of disclosure that are happening, and people more and more en masse are realizing there's something really serious going on here. The government, of course, steps in and says, well, the official report says this. But that's only what the government is openly stating and openly saying. Meanwhile, there are other things going on behind the scenes, much of which we just won't know. And the question is being looked at, I have no doubt, by politicians and the military and, all levels of government. So I think that we have to watch with interest when these reports come up, but we also have to understand that there's only so far they're going to go in revealing what they know. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. Yeah, you make really good points. I've always been fascinated with aliens and UFOs, and I think everyone who has, really thought about, unidentified flying objects and whatnot has been fascinated by it. Why is there such a fascination? I mean, does it just go back to that level of unknown, unexplained? Why is there such a fascination with UFOs and aliens?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that, in general, if we're talking about the paranormal, or I use that term in a very broad sense, we're talking about the unknown. I think humans in general are fascinated by mysteries, by the unknown, by what's just beyond, what we understand or what we know about. So it's natural that people are going to be fascinated by the topic of UFOs, these strange occurrences, these sightings that people have and encounters that people have, just like they're fascinated by the potential for an afterlife as it manifests in ghosts, or the potential for strange creatures wandering around out there somewhere. So it's that sense of the unknown and that curiosity that we all have as humans. And it's also a little bit of the adventurous spirit, I believe, because humans are sort of driven to explore and sort of go beyond. And at this point in the modern world, the next great frontier is space, in most people's minds. So there's this natural curiosity and speculation about what's out there, what's beyond this singular orb that we're all living on. And those are all things that drive people, I believe, to delve into these mysteries.